What is up? I'm Miguel Antonio, and you are listening to the Live and Create podcast. It's where I interview artists and entrepreneurs about what it means to live a great life and create great things. And before we jump into the podcast today, I'd love for you to check out my band, Run With It. Here's a clip from our song, One More Fight.
We can get free from our fear inside by staring down the night. A deeper breath and start to climb. One more step and one more fight. One more time. One more time. Open eyes and open sky.
If you like what you heard, make sure you check us out at Run With It Band, at Run With It Band, everywhere you follow people at, or go to runwithitband.net. It'll take you to all the different links you want to go to, and there'll be a little button you can click for booking information. Now for today's podcast.
The Live and Create podcast.
Now, I'm excited because you and I might have a song coming out in 2025. Yeah. You know, if we can get that song to fruition, like you joining Run With It, joining forces. And what was the name of that song?
Dark Times.
Dark Times. Yeah. These are the darkest days.
Yeah.
It was a really cool groove.
That was a very cool song.
That was probably, I feel like that's one of the first times we've had like a guest that's not part of the band help us write.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see more and more of that as time goes on.
I feel like it wasn't even like a thing that we were planning to do. I was just like, I'm going to come in here and, ooh, hey, that might be cool.
Well, it's funny because I walked in, obviously Daniel and I were going to have that writing session. You were hanging out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but I was just in a really pissy mood and I was getting ready to go home. Yeah. And I think it was you who were like, no, you should write. Like, let's really dig into this. And so we wrote like a subtle murder song and with a groove.
It's definitely a dark song.
But it turned out really good. And I was actually happy by the end of the day. So I'm glad you and Daniel forced me to stick in and keep writing.
Yeah.
And keep going for it. Now for you, where did the musical journey start for you? Like, were you a little girl, like in love with music, or was it something you found a little later in life for yourself?
I feel like we've kind of been, I've been thinking about this a little bit, just about my journey and trying to pinpoint like what it was and what happened. And what I remember is a moment of going to pick my dad up from the airport. And it was the first time I'd ever seen him. I think I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
And I got to see my dad for the first time, or that I could remember or recall. And we were all packed into this car, me and my brothers and sisters, and I was sitting on his lap. And he just started teaching me a gospel song, and it was that...
like in the car ride home?
In the car ride.
Really?
Open the floodgates of heaven. Yeah. And he was just like singing this song, and I just remember liking it and him teaching me like 2 or 3 lines of it. And that is really the moment that I remember ever singing anything and like being taught to sing anything, or just like one of my first moments ever with music where I was interested in it.
That's wild.
Yeah,
so, like,
I forgot.
Right out the gate, did he continue fanning that flame, or was that just kind of the start for you?
My dad was definitely the creator in the family, not a musical person. Like, he could sing. All of my aunts could sing and like hold a tune, but they weren't singers. Gotcha. But he was just a creator. So he was an artist, a charcoal artist, like just extremely talented person. So I think though he wasn't like around a lot, when he was around, I remember the encouragement that would be there about writing and continuing to write and continuing to sing and push and just like be the artist that I am. So I remember that. And I remember my mother. My mother was a writer and a poet. And
Nice.
so she was the person that kind of was like, make sure you read and you look up words and you expand your vocabulary and you have a good understanding so that when you're writing, you can create and write something that's worthwhile to
Yeah.
people. Yeah. So it's
That's
definitely both of them.
Now, as you started writing your own music, well, like before I get to that, did you start writing like right out the gate, or was it just learning
I
other
think a
people's
lot.
music for a while?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that. I think it was a lot of just being a sponge for a long period of time. And then around
Yeah.
like 16 or 17, I remember like my high school room and like just being creative, decorating a space and like truly getting into music and creating and fashion and like just kind of all of the things. And I remember writing and having my dictionary and just kind of looking up words and writing a song and then like recreating it, finding new words that could better describe a certain thing that, felt more intelligent or, something along those lines. So definitely in high school was where I can recall taking writing seriously.
That's cool.
And
Did
all
it
of
start
the,
with poetry then, or were you adapting it to music at that moment?
I was adapting it to music for sure. I did poetry and I wrote poems like my mom, but most of the time it was a melody that was in my head and I was writing a song to it. Was it the greatest song and the greatest melody? No, but we were writing.
Right. Like, yeah, all the things I remember. I started writing in high school. My first song I wrote, I think I was about 17 as well. And yeah, I thought it was the shit. I'm sure if I go back now, it's like, what in the
Why'd you
world?
write
But
that?
there was something about those initial ones that
Yeah.
it's like, I can do this. I
Yeah.
can piece this together.
Yeah.
Did you, with your parents being such creatives, did you feel pressure in trying to share that with them, or was it just excitement?
Oh my God, yeah. There was a ton of pressure. It was a ton of pressure because they were just, I wish I had like a piece of my dad's work, but he was just like one of the smartest, most creative people that I've ever met in my life. And my mom was too. And it was just kind of like, man, I don't want to bring this song in front of them. And then they like are like, baby, that's so good, but you could probably work on this.
Like, that's cool, but get a thesaurus and
Let's
get
Yeah, we could probably say this in a better way that's more, thoughtful and just like, maybe not so teenage, I don't know. But I definitely wanted to impress my parents. And I definitely wanted to feel like they were proud of me and that they just loved what I was doing. So it was definitely some pressure. And
yeah.
all of my siblings, none of them sang, but they were all musical and they like rapped. My sister is a rapper. She opened up for Trina, like
Nice. So it's very
years
lyrical
ago.
heavy is your
Very
family
lyrical.
sitting in like there. Well, and I know that's one conversation we've had before as well in this concept of songwriting, pop music, and how often it's the simple line that
Yeah.
punches through in a way. And sometimes that can be a struggle where when you wrestle with your writing right now, thinking of marketability and thinking also of what you're trying to communicate and the elevated sense of what you want to put out there, like you got all these pieces spinning
Hmm.
around. What does
Hmm.
that look like for you right now in your own writing, wrestling out those concepts, pairing simplicity with depth of thought?
Yeah. So I feel like for me, I just have to write it. I just have to write it and reread it and
Yeah.
say now how it used to be like how can I be more clever about this? Now it's how can I be how can I simplify this a little bit better? How can I basically write like a rapper, right? Where it's just like lyrical, 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 right? How can I take some things out and make it more simplistic and kind of focus more on my vocal delivery rather than my cadence or my lyricism? How can I just kind of focus on the other thing? It feels like, and me and Daniel were talking about this the other day about being an expert in something, right? And so I think that I feel like an expert in lyricism, but I don't feel like an expert as like a vocalist sometimes. And so it's like, okay, how can I say, I've got this part down. Now let me refocus it and redo it so that it can kind of, I can become an expert in another area and make this become the pop star or the blues star that I'm aiming for? How can I focus
Yeah.
more on that part of it and not so much the lyricism, because that's there.
So for you then, is it just studying vocal techniques? Is it studying other artists? What's that process?
It's definitely other artists for sure. A lot of times, especially now, I feel like I'm like a student. So a lot of times I'm going to go see people perform or hear people, and they're like with you guys, seeing how you guys write and how you guys do things, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm learning what it is to be in that on that side of things and how that works. So it's just like watching you guys, learning from you guys, taking notes, understanding like, okay, this is how we achieve this. This is how we
Yeah.
can go for it. Here's little things that I can take and kind of see if they can help me create better and make better content and music for people.
That's cool. I'm learning mixing currently, mixing and mastering. And so it's like I'm every day now, I just feel like I'm listening to songs that I've listened to before, but I'm listening to them a whole different way. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what they have here. Where I even noticed there's a new Kendrick song, Man in the Garden, that I think I showed it to you guys one day off his G and X. And there was a whole other like layer that I never even heard before. But I
Mm,
was listening to it and I was like, I was trying to understand what the producer was doing. And then all
yeah.
of a sudden, up in this upper frequency, I was like, oh shit, there's this whole other percussion thing I didn't even
Yeah.
hear. So it's exciting to go into context, I think, try as a student, especially in the music, because and sometimes it's you got to wrestle with it because like sometimes I just want to enjoy music, right?
Yeah.
And just like soak it in. But
Yeah.
often I'm just kind of like, okay, what are they doing here? How are they getting this? How's the kick punching? Those pieces there. As you have observed, Run With It, these other artists, you're on this journey. What are maybe one or two things that you feel like you've learned thus far that's helped you in that delivery?
In the delivery, I think, ooh, that's a good question. Let me answer it slow.
It's all good.
Something that I've learned so far is that everything is not so serious. That's a big one.
Which that's a hard one though for artists. That's me. It was always like I'm pouring my blood and my soul into this thing.
This is my blood, sweat, and tears
Yeah,
right here. Yeah, it's definitely like just relax for one. It's not so serious. Your lyrics don't have to be so intense all the time. You can talk about like simple things or like you just don't have to be so. It's not. It's just not so serious.
yeah.
Just calm down. The second thing would be definitely like the imposter syndrome, like shaking that and owning
Mm,
what you do. Like you guys, Ashley Page, Kat King, you guys feel like everybody gets scared. Everybody has like their things, but you guys like have this ownership over like who you are and what you do. And I think that you can do anything with that, whether you're scared, whether you're overthinking anything. If you just have ownership over what you do and who you are, you can fight through that and you
right.
can do it anyways. It's like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm Miguel or I'm Ashley or I'm Frankie and I can do this. This is what I do. So whether I'm scared, whether I'm overthinking it or not, I'm going to do it anyways and I'm going to be happy to do it and I'm going to be proud of it. So
It's like we're here. This is what I'm ready for. This is the shit we worked on. Let's go.
period. Yeah,
Let's do it.
let's go. Let's do it.
That's awesome. Yeah. It. Simon Sinek is a like business writer, and he has this concept. He calls it Bob the Builder concept, and where he's talking about like dealing with fear, dealing with like what's like not feeling confident
Yeah.
in like insecurity, I guess, and doubt. And this one has helped me out a ton because he was like, instead of like trying to pump yourself up, he calls it the Bob the Builder mentality, where it's like in Bob the Builder, he always asks, can we fix it? Yes, we
Yes, we
can.
can.
Right. Exactly. And it hit me where he's like, no, just start going back in your brain. Is like, instead of saying, no, I can do this, say, no, this is what I did. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is how I prepared myself. These are the things I've done in the past. So therefore, I can step to
Yeah,
this next level because I have prepared. I have done
I
these
like
things. And
that.
I was like, no, that's huge. When I know one topic we had mentioned was this concept of fear in general, right? I think a lot of humans in general, we deal
Yeah.
with it, but artists, sometimes we can feel that so poignantly, like in us.
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the tools that you use right now to push through fear, overcome fear, or work in the midst of fear?
Yeah. Yeah. I think as of right now, I feel like remembering my achievements, kind of like what you just said. Like remembering who I am can help me navigate the fear. If I go into things sometimes and I kind of like, it's good to be a student, but sometimes also you have to like, if it's your show, it's your gig and your thing, you're not the student that day. That day, you're the expert. You're the expert. You know what you're doing. That's what it is. So you can't like walk in and not own that and not have that energy, or it's just going to go from fear to anxiety to just like not a great show.
Right.
Not a great show, not a great performance. So I'm trying now to just remember my achievements and to remember what I have accomplished. And if I've done it before, I can do it again. So that helps me a lot with the fear. And then just breathing.
Yeah.
Breathing and focusing. So, we do that first song. When that second song comes on, it's not over. We got 7 songs to go. 7 songs to go. Just focus. Give each song everything that you have. Whether you're scared or not, just do it. These people are not here to watch you fail. They're here to see you succeed, and they're cheering for you. And remembering that is helpful too, because
that's a good point.
Yeah,
it's easy to forget that sometimes, because sometimes it feels contentious, like everyone's waiting to see you just like fuck
it up. Yeah, yeah. When in reality, those are just some traumas that you're dealing with sometimes. But in reality, most of these people that are here, if not all of them, they are here to watch you win, and they're here to see you like do a great thing. And that's just what it is. So if you stop thinking that everyone are like in the audience is waiting for you to fail, or if you stop, leave that student mentality at the door just for tonight, and you're the expert for tonight, and you just own that and breathe and take your time.
Yeah.
That's what's been helping me with my fear.
That's huge. I love that idea of just reminding yourself, like, these people are here to see you win. Because I think sometimes when I step on stage, it can be almost contentious. But yeah, like, they're there to have a great time. Often they're there because you're there already,
Yeah.
When you say breathing, are you talking like kind of a meditative piece, or just the concept of like how you breathe within the song? Are you talking about just taking a breather in between each song and reset?
Yeah. I would say taking a breather between each song, or any, like, even if there's like a breakdown or a bridge or whatever, where you can just kind of like, the band is doing a thing and you can just kind of collect yourself one more time, because I feel like it happens throughout the night, right? You're there for 3 or 4 hours for the show, and you might need several breathers per set just to kind of like come back down to earth, because I feel like I lose it. I feel like it's like flying a kite. Like, if you let go of the kite, like, you got to chase it and like pull it back to you, right? So come back down here. So that's how it feels to me. And so I definitely, if I could visualize fear, to me it looks like a bubble that's in your stomach that's like trying to like come up and out of your mouth, and it's just like you got to push that bubble down, and sometimes like breathing is what does that. So you just swallow that back down, remember your goal, remember your mission, remember why you're here, and remember that these people and you're all here to see you win and succeed and do a thing and entertain and make memories, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, sometimes it's before the song, sometimes it's if I catch a break in the middle of the song, it's just, you're okay.
Well, that's an awesome concept. I love that aspect, that the audience there to see you win. When I think from the business side, sometimes it can feel like contentious with venue owners and all those other things. But I remember thinking one day, like, to myself as I was reflecting, it's like, do you really think they want the show to fail? Do you really think they want to lose money? Like, they don't want to lose money. Like, you're an idiot for thinking this negative thing. Like, just, no, they're there. They want, like you said, they want to see the business side. They want to see you win too. They're not going to work against you.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes it feels like it could be that way. But I think we get in our heads so often.
Yeah.
It's easy to get there where you have to reset it and go.
My mom told me the other day, we were on the phone, and she was like, sometimes we talk and I feel like you block out your good memories and you focus on those memories that gave you a bad experience to the point to where you have, like, that's your outlook. So I feel like everyone's here to see me fail because of this one incident that happened that was, you know, like kind of along those lines. And but we let that live in our head rent free, and we kind of like fixate on it a little bit to where it becomes like, this is how the world is, and this is how everything is, and this is, yeah. And then you have to wake up and
now
be
I'm just
like,
going to
okay,
quit music and who cares? It doesn't matter. Yeah. It just goes, it spirals all the way down.
all the way down. It's done. I quit. So I have to remember, like, you know, hey, this was just an experience that I had with one person or whoever. That doesn't mean that that's how the rest of the world is working. And I think if we look at things through our own mind, right? Well, if I was a venue owner and if I was booking gigs, would I like be wanting these acts to come in and like screw up? What would be my, as a human being, what would I be thinking, you know? And if we can look at that and just like kind of think, well, maybe, you know, if I wouldn't think that, I doubt that all of these other people are feeling this way. Yeah, you know? So
That's so true.
yeah.
Well, and it's interesting though, because I feel like sometimes I think as artists we get very critical because we see all the details
Yeah.
of our art, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was just working on a remix this past week where I was just getting so mad because I can see all the shit that's not right with it.
Yeah.
And I want to fix it. And then just, it's like I had to take a step back for a minute and just remember, it's like, okay, you fix this, you learn how to do that. You can learn how to do that next thing. And,
Yeah.
so it's that competitive edge, I think sometimes that it's the double-edged sword of it, if you will. So like one of my boys, or both, two of my boys are very heavy into soccer. And we were meeting with one of the boys' coaches, and where he was even saying like his competitiveness is like off the charts. But he said that what it's like, it's going so far that where he's like, it's not bad. It's just all he's seeing is the mistakes. All he's seeing is the things that he needs to fix instead of saying, oh no, here's what I did well. Let me do more of that. And then what was happening, that competitiveness almost like weighed him down in the game because he was, even though like they won, even though he scored a goal, he was walking off the field crying and pissed because he didn't turn his foot exactly the way he wanted to.
I get that.
Yeah. And as I think with artists, as we're doing, especially when we're doing our own music, we can get so trapped in that same mentality where, oh, this one moment of the show was so terrible. Like my voice cracked on that one, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But everyone else is like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was a really good show. Like we had fun. Everyone was dancing. They were singing.
I got into jams. I went to Knuckleheads. I first started like playing music with musicians live. And that's kind of like where I developed and learned and hit my head, embarrassed myself, shined, had moments. But I remember a moment just like that where like had, you know, hyped myself up and I was like, oh, I'm going to nail this song. And I got up on stage and I was about to go for this like crazy high note. And this woman had her camera out and she was like, yeah, Frankie. And I just like go for this note and my voice completely cracks and goes out. And I remember walking off of the stage knowing that this woman recorded it. And I just went to the bathroom and cried. And I was just like, and you know, Knucklehead sometimes gets like packed and there's so many people in
even
there.
On the jams.
So the jams get packed sometimes, you know? I remember going from pay to plays and like stop doing the pay to plays because the jams were just a better, it was like, if I'm going to be singing and I'm going to be like paying someone to sing, I'd rather go, you know, somewhere where I know there's going to be a guaranteed crowd, where I'm going to get to network, where I'm going to get to learn. And like, so I started just going to the jams. I was like, I'm going to leave that space alone and I'm going to go to the jams. And I went to Knuckleheads and that happened. And then I got on Facebook and she posted the video and I was just like,
it's like, listen, you didn't have to post it.
You heard the crack. You heard it. You didn't have to post that. But in her mind, she probably was just like, yeah, it's just a little mistake, whatever. But overall, like, it was a great performance,
Right.
And so she probably just posted it. But in my mind, all I heard was the crack. I didn't care about anything else I did right.
Absolutely.
That crack happened. No, take it down. Yeah. Flag it. Take it down. Can't be up anymore.
Well, and I've been thinking a lot about failure and how important it is to learn and grow. I'm very deep currently into learning Spanish, trying to work on like fluency in it. But the only way you actually can learn a language very well is to consistently speak it and fuck up over and over again. And so it's been a great journey for me to like apply those same principles other places in life. It's almost like the quicker you get to the failure, the quicker you learn and move beyond it. And I think even in the arts world, that's a fine line though. Cause like if you're doing a big show, you don't want to take like huge risks. Like you want to do the things, that's going to execute really well. But yeah. I think that's where jams are really interesting. Or like I sit in with like, the dual piano stuff where everyone's just kind of going on the fly. Like they're not expecting perfection. They're actually expecting you to like, walk this tightrope of like, can he pull it off or not?
Yeah.
I feel like those environments are really helpful for artists because it gives you a spot to just like, try this. Oh, it failed. Oh, that was like, or even the songwriting process is kind of like that too, where, even that day when we were working on that song, it's like, we're throwing out ideas like, oh, that's dumb. Oh, no, that didn't work. There it is. There's that one spot, but we only got there because we did like 10 lines that all just didn't work.
Absolutely.
But it led to the thing,
It's like playing chess. So like, I just started picking this game up recently, but
nice.
I have noticed that there's so much trial and error when you're learning it because you don't know. You just don't know. You don't know what your opponent is trying to do. You don't know what moves, how you can get that king in check. You don't you just don't know. And so it's like, okay, I don't think I'm going to win this game this time, but I'm going to try all of these different moves to see if I can reach whatever goal of it is that I have to reach. If my goal is to take out 5 of your pieces, that's my goal. You can win the rest of the game, but I met my goal. So we're happy, That's and it feels like the same thing. So being in the jam world, I think it really helped me overall become the performer and the person that I am in general. And it helped with the confidence that I do have. I feel like when I went into the jam world, it was kind of like just these uncharted waters. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to verbalize or say what I wanted because I've never played an instrument. I played a little piano, but like not enough to really understand certain things. So there was a language barrier.
Right.
So I wanted to do a certain thing, but I didn't know how to like get that across to the musicians. And they were just looking at me like,
you're like, the thing.
What do you want us to do? A track? Can I play this for you in your ear? And, some musicians would be okay with that. Other musicians would be like, no, lady, you need to know the key. you need to know the key. You need to know what you're doing.
Yet again, another great lesson where you're like, next time I'm going to know the key. Okay, there we go.
When I tell you, I went in there with a notebook and I was just like, okay, so this song is in the key of... I had my notes and I was like, because I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to mess up.
You bring out full scores. You're like, everybody, here we go.
sheet music, But so it was really frustrating in the beginning because, it was just a major language barrier and I didn't understand a lot of things. And coming from a world where you're writing to tracks and you're just kind of mixing and mastering and like recording on your own, but you like aren't working with instruments or knowing certain things like that. So I didn't even know how much I didn't know until I got into the jam space.
That's
and I was like,
thing?
Oh, okay, cool. So I appreciate the jam space, and it really is kind of the whole reason I have a band, the whole reason that I'm performing live, the whole reason I'm doing all of that is simply because of Knuckleheads, O'Dowd's, like that, Christine's Firehouse, the Rhino, KC, like all of these spaces kind of help develop and help me get ready. Even if I wasn't booking and performing, I was ready to book and perform because that's what I've been doing 5 nights a week. I pretty much, I would work from 7 to 3, and then I would go to a jam 4 or 5 nights a week, and that was like 3 or 4 years of my life, and
That's
that was
awesome.
my performance experience.
That's amazing. Like, that's a great way, because it's like you get the actual stage time, but you have a community of people who are helping you grow,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
at all different, all different places down the path. With your band, with your own writing, with performing, what's next for you? What are you dreaming about?
Right now, the focus is the album. It's my first album with live instrumentation and a collaborative experience, which to me, I think is the best part. It's the best part. It's like I said, like with jams, there were so many things that I didn't know. Still with music and recording, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't experienced and didn't know. So like this album, I have an arranger on this album. I've got my guitar player, drums, and we're gonna have horns on this, but they all have these different experiences and like ideas of sound that are they're taking the lyrics that I wrote, because I just write the lyric and the melody, right? It's this simple
line
thing.
in that thing.
That's it. As far as anything else, I'm open to hearing what other people are hearing and kind of developing a sound based off of all 5 of these people coming together to create a sound. Nice. I have an idea of what the direction I want to go in, but I also don't want to block any of my blessings by being too set on that and right. Dictating too much. I want to be open.
That's kind of like a dance as well, figuring out that. We see that, happen and run with it, because I have a direction in my brain typically most of the time. But then, like you said, it's the reason we're writing collaboratively is because everybody can have input, because it's going to make it a better product. So like, when is the right time to say, that is the perfect, or when's the time to say and fight for like, no, that's not, and this is why, let's try again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough dance.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying awesome. It. And so the goal for us right now is to put this album out. We are looking to start curating our own shows. So we're looking to kind of have like an end of the year experience where it's something that everybody can look forward to. Every year from Mercy we'll have this event or this thing happening.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and it gives you a chance to really build your fan base, and then to see it come to fruition and say, okay, how can I get 15 people in this room this year? Right. Okay, cool. If I can get 15 people in this room this year, then next year maybe I can get 30 people in this room. Right. And just to kind of see that in reality and be like, okay, cool. I can actually see the growth happening before my eyes, because I feel like a lot of times, especially locally, like our local shows have to do with our community, and sometimes people might not be reacting to our content online, but they are watching and they do see us and they might show up to these shows. So sometimes you can't gauge it based off of your social media. Sometimes you're like, well,
I find that so interesting, and I've seen it work over and over again, where people who I know, because we're watching it every day, do not engage with any of our social media. They'll be like, oh, I saw that video with the KC Rumble. Oh, I saw this thing. And I'm like,
did you like it?
Yeah, I'm like, 1, I'm glad you saw it. 2, hit the like button maybe next time. So help that algorithm, man. Help us out a little bit. But I think third in that, it did give me a little bit of excitement to know, like, okay, consistently pushing it out, even if the numbers aren't what I want to see, it, like, that exposure is still
getting in front of people. Yeah. I think of it like radio, right? So it's like Taylor Swift or any of these important artists that you might not normally go look for online, but you've heard them so many times on the radio that you like downloaded this song without even knowing it, and then it pops on and you're like, and you're singing along to it. And I think social media kind of works in the same way, where it's like they might not interact with it or go searching for it, but we've popped up on their feed so many times, whether they engage or not. They've seen it. We've been in front of them. They've heard Lullaby. They've heard Wanna Be Bad. They've heard Night Watch so many times that it's like, whether I asked for it or not, I know the song.
It's like,
and
if
I know
I
the
have to
artist.
see Miguel's 5 a.m. club with Night Watch tagged to it one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. It's like, all right, we're finally getting somewhere if people start saying that.
Absolutely. That was my relationship with Rihanna. It's so strange to me because I love Rihanna at this age, but my teen age was like, I'm a Beyonce fan. Rihanna's cool. I know the comparison thing, but Beyonce, it was just this childish way of like thinking about these artists.
We've all been there, yeah.
She came on the radio so much that eventually I was like, well, let me listen to her album. Let me see, and then I ended up listening to her album, and Russian Roulette was one of my favorite songs, and I just like became over time like this Rihanna fan where like I've bought all of her Fenty products, and it's just like I love this woman, and so that's like what I try to remember when it comes to social media is like, I could be on social media for the next 3 years and people might not like engage the way that I want to. But if I consistently do this for the next 5 or 10 years, they're not going to be able to deny. That's the thing. You can't deny talent. You can't deny what someone's doing. You can only it's going to get at you at some point in time where you're going to be like,
right.
Yeah, Frankie, she's dope. She's cool. She's cool. I like that. I like that song she put out. It was all right.
Well, it's like Alex Hermosi is a business writer I listen to a lot, and he talks about how you can never have greatness without consistency. And it's like you have to start with like doing shitty stuff that turns out shitty as many days in a row as possible for as long as possible, and then it starts getting better and better and better. And it's like that is the process. Like there's no way around it. And that's conversations for us with social media. I say this now because we just took about 3 weeks off from doing anything, but basically we're regrouping all of our business, and I'm learning a lot of shit behind the scenes right now.
Yeah.
But starting Monday, we're back at it. And that's one of the conversations we've had where it's like showing up every day, even though we're not happy necessarily with all of the content. It's like we're getting happier and happier because the next week we're obsessing. Oh, this worked. This didn't. Okay, let's make it a little better. Oh, I learned how to do this caption a little bit better. Same thing with songwriting, same thing with mixing, all these pieces.
It's a learning experience.
So, yeah.
Yep. Be a student. It's a learning experience. You're just going to get better and better. And I think also people kind of like to go on that journey with you. I think fans like to be able to say, man, I listened to Run With It way back in freaking 2009, and now like in 24 like I just got to see them like kind of go up this mountain, and people appreciate that because I think it also makes them feel closer to you and like more connected to you to be on that journey with you and to see that. I compare it to like the Disney Channel kids, right? Where you kind of like, you get a connection with the Disney Channel kids because you watch them grow up like that. So
and then they become Drake. And then
they become Drake. Well, he wasn't Disney. Disney doesn't accept Drake.
Was he not? He wasn't Disney?
He was Nickelodeon.
Got you. You're like, hold up.
Hold on. Not that I'm cool with Drake. I like Drake. He's fine. I'm just saying.
Just don't let Kendrick know.
Please.
Still listen to Drake. Don't let him know. But
don't let him know.
Well, I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm excited to see how the music progresses for you. Were you guys able to get like your PRO stuff, all those things?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know if you need help, because that's all I'm living in right now.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to see, once you guys get that music together, where it can go. I think that would be really cool.
I would love that.
Awesome.
I appreciate you too, and I appreciate Run With It. I have gotten to learn so much from you guys, and it just feels like a privilege to even be in the room with you guys and to be able to help in whatever way that I can, but also just like kind of be a sponge and just there is so helpful to me.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Your camera went out. We're back.
I was dying.
We're back in there. Well, it's perfect timing though, because it's the last two questions of the podcast that if that's dying on you. Anyway, right now, how would you define living a great life?
Living a great life looks like internal peace to me. So it's like all of the things that are causing me to be fearful, to be anxious, all of these things. Living a great life looks like being able to have that under control and to have more control of what's happening in my mind and in my body, how I'm reacting and flowing through life. That's what living a great life looks like, because I can do anything if I can have that kind of control over self. I can do anything. I could do music, I can do modeling, I can be a business owner, I could fly a plane, I could do anything that I want to do if I can have peace of mind.
That's awesome. What, for you, having that peace of mind, that strong internal sense, what are some things that you do to work on that, to develop that?
So recently I have started waking up in the mornings and putting on some type of podcast that's usually like a woman that has dealt with exactly what I'm dealing with and has kind of these strategies and things that you can use to help you find that kind of peace. So I put something like that on almost every morning. And before I'm like moving and doing anything, I'm downloading just this positive information and this you are not alone information. You're not the only person that's dealt with this. You're not the only individual that's got to like fight through that. So feeling like I'm not alone, feeling like there's a community out there that's dealing with that, downloading these positive thoughts and affirmations and reminding myself of my achievements and reminding myself of my positive interactions and memories is helping with that quite a bit.
That's awesome.
And meditating. We meditate from time to time too.
I feel that. Yeah, meditation's a big piece for me. About the podcast though, it's so interesting nowadays where like the idea of like we have access to basically any mentor we want.
Mm-hmm.
It's just taking the time to sit down and listen. Like it may not be the direct where you can have a conversation with someone, but like I said, people have gone through the thing. They're a little further down the road and we have access all over the place now. And I benefit a ton from that. Well, for the last question right now, how would you define creating great things?
For me, creating great things looks like being inspired by great people and great artists. It looks like collaborating with other people. It looks like not rushing. It looks like patience. Sometimes I get a song in my head and I've gotten to the point to where like I said, this is my expert space, right? And so I'm going to finish that song, that whole song. I'm going to write this line. I'm going to finish that whole song. But sometimes it's good to like write that chorus or write that verse and let it sit for a day or two and then come back to it with a fresher thought or, but like, I don't have to finish this. Who is rushing me? Who is this? You know
like,
what I mean?
Wait, it was me. It was me.
It was me.
Me was rushing me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to like, just like, Frankie, you don't have to finish this right now. You can come back to this later and it could be more fun and exciting and it doesn't have to feel like this thing that you have to do. It could just be that. It looks like devotion. Yeah. It looks like being devoted to a thing. So if this is the craft that I want to do, if this is the thing that I want to do, I've got to be devoted to it and give it everything I got all the time. It is my number one. So devotion. Yeah, I feel like that. As of right now, that feels good.
That's awesome. That makes me think of, it's my favorite Nietzsche quote. And he talks about having a long obedience in the same direction, as essentially that's the way to thrive in whatever area you're trying to thrive in. And that always sticks out to me. Well, let people know how to connect with you, how to get ready. So when you do release the music, they're there on social media, actually liking your stuff and downloading it and getting involved.
Well, my name is Frankie Shorez. I am with FSC and Mercy Fire, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on YouTube and on Facebook, but mainly Instagram if you want to know when any shows are about to happen or any music that's about to drop, or TikTok as well if you want to see any content and collaborations.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for making the time. Thank you for listening to the Live and Create podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment or a review.
The Live and Create podcast.